When you think of all the great 35mm photographers, that sounds absurd, doesn't it? One has to be very careful about poo-pooing the smartphone photography because, I mentioned Martin Mukachi earlier on. Well, that was his downfall. He was achieving extraordinary things with large format plate photography. Things that by today's standards, you would go, oh my God, how did he do that with a 35mm camera? And when you realize that he did it with wet plate photography, that was the only way he could see if his exposure, no light meter, the only way he could see whether any of this was right is after developing, on the spot. When you look at what he did, it was extraordinary what he did. And when 35mm photography came in, came to be the standard, he refused to accept it as legitimate photography, refused. And he wouldn't change, and subsequently ended up an alcoholic and, not being hired anymore after being, I think he was the highest paid photographer, forever at Harper's, I think at one time. I can't remember who he got hired by, but he was paid like back in the, I think it was, I want to say late 40s, but then he refused to conform to 35mm photography. And when you think of all the great 35mm photographers, that sounds absurd, doesn't it? But he refused to, then digital came in and people refused to conform, and now smartphones are here. And there are people like, like us, right? That were just going, yeah. And so, I've seen that movie and I know how it ends.